Hey, I'm back because the last library video did really well, and I thought I would take you along my journey while I work on it. One of the things that I don't like about my library right now is that manga takes up a whole lot of space. If you look at, like, an omnibus on the shelf, they only leave a few inches of space, and so I feel like I'm utilizing my whole shelf. And if I really wanted to display something, I could in front of those. But I like having easy access to the books. But if you look at manga, it's a lot. It's like my handful of space, and I'm not the first person to sort of have this thought. It also leaves a bunch of space at the top, and so what a lot of people will do is they do what's called double stacking their manga. If you look, I can have an entire second volume here in front, and it doesn't take up all of the depth space for books. And so you could fill twice as much manga on a single shelf. But the problem is that now it's covering up the manga that's behind, so you can't see what it is. I mean, you're going to have to sort of take manga out to get what's behind it no matter what, but at least if, there was some way to see it, then, it's not a huge deal to sort of like take a couple books off the shelf and like put them back to get what you're trying to get at. So what a lot of people do when they double stack manga is they will raise the item behind somehow. So here, you can imagine if there was a book in front, it would, you'd be able to see case closed 19 and 20. So let me try. I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but like, let's take, one volume here, and then we'll do a volume behind. This isn't going to work. There, you can kind of imagine the way it looks is that you've got case code closed 18 there, and then behind you can kind of see, I've got case closed 19 as well. So the trick is, how do you do that, right? You kind of need something that's a very specific size. You want something that's sturdy enough to hold your manga. You want something, that's not too deep so it doesn't push things out too far. You don't want it to be too tall so it doesn't fit top to bottom. And there's, if you like search on YouTube, there's different people who have different things. Like one person that's really popular has a really popular video, says that they, found something at Target. There was like a little Tupperware that was just happened to be the right size and shape. But I also worry a little bit about making sure that I'm using all of the horizontal space. You could imagine that, like, I could probably find a Tupperware that's the right depth and height, but like, can I stack them across so that I have perfectly fill up my entire space? And then, what if I do two shelves worth now, and then in a year I want to do it again, and Target's not carrying that Tupperware anymore? I'm kind of at the mercy of what's on the market, and yeah, I've also seen people DIY it with wood, doing woodworking. They buy 1x2s or things like that, and some plywood or sort of craft wood, balsa wood, and do something. But I'm not really a big woodworker, so I had a thought that maybe this could be solved with 3D printing. So maybe I'll take you on that journey with me.
Okay, yeah. So, like I said, I want to be able to have something that's sort of repeatable and reliable, and that I could sort of do again in a year or 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Um, get as many of these shelves as I want, all being exactly the same height and sort of like fit for purpose, lengthwise for my bookcase. And so I instantly thought something 3D printed. I didn't own a 3D printer when I started doing this thought process, and I did find something that did look like it was made precisely for my Billy bookcase, and it looked promising. But if you go on and read the description, you'll see that this particular one needs four for my bookcase across to do just one row, and that's at $14 a pop. That's like almost $60 to do a single row of these. And I have to think that the cost of the filament of the plastic here is pennies. And I've always kind of wanted to get into 3D printing, and this is just like kind of a good excuse, I guess. So, um, I did find some other people doing similar things, and thought to myself, okay, well, I'll go print these. But then sort of realized that just because I can buy these doesn't necessarily mean that I can make them. These people probably made these models proprietary, made them themselves, and didn't put them up on some sort of place where I can get them to print them. Um, but if you do a little bit of searching, I searched on Things and Thingiverse and a few other places. You can find models that do similar things. This looks kind of promising. Here's one that I found for calyxes. If that's what you have, um, that could work for you. I like this one because they are using less plastic, less filament wastes by having it sort of have hollow sections. But here's one that I eventually found. It wasn't quite the easiest. That is precisely what I want. It's made for Billy. Here's a Billy pictured. They have it edge to edge. The height looks just about right. The depth looks right. This is exactly what I want. It is a little tricky because it comes in 3 parts. They have the sort of slab that the books sit on, and then they have legs that hold the slab up, and then they have these little sort of connectors to keep the pieces sort of with each other. But this is what I'm going to try to print. We're going to see how it goes. And print I did. I'm new to printing. I got a Bamboo X1C and had a couple failed prints, just user error. But once I got it going, these are all just standard settings except for infill, which I turned down to 10%.
So I have my first section of shelving done. But unfortunately, one thing I didn't consider is that while they did design this for Billy, you can see up the sides here, Billy is adjustable height. And so they had their shelves taller than mine, and this is not gonna fit. I'm gonna have to make a new set of legs that are a little bit shorter. I haven't measured it exactly, but it looks like maybe about an inch just to get it to fit, maybe 2 inches so I can, slip my finger in there and pull a book out. So we'll have to try again on the legs. The good news is that the top here and the pegs, I can't pull it out with one hand, but the pegs here should be reusable. I should be able to take this apart, reuse this piece, reuse the fasteners, and just print up new legs.
So yeah, I got some help designing a part that was exactly the same, just a little bit shorter, and then did a test print of just the one to make sure it would work, and it did. And so after that, I was full steam ahead. I printed all the rest of the parts I needed. You can see I switched out to a new fancy build plate, but everything else is the same.
I now have printed out a bunch of the individual parts. This is you can kind of see through it with the light behind it, which is kind of cool. I didn't notice that. I've got the tops, and then I've got legs. Here's the legs that didn't work, that were too tall. The first ones I printed out and had to replace. I've got actually a couple of those I printed. And I've got a set of the nails, which I was saying before, I wasn't sure if I would have to peel something off. I didn't, so they just pop right out. I don't know, kind of want to show you how those work. Got a nail there. And the top of these pieces, I don't know if you can see, the light behind me was a bad choice. Yeah, you can see that much better. There's 2 holes in the top of each of these, and you just take the little fastener nail and you just kind of push it down into the hole. It's got pretty good friction. I didn't have to adjust the print settings or the models at all. It all just kind of worked. So yeah, I ended up going 10% infill on these because they felt sturdy at 15, but I was also using more material than I thought. I bought a whole roll, a kilogram of this white PLA matte, and I would say even with the misprints, like the bad legs and everything, I ended up probably using a little over half. And that roll of a kilogram of material was $18, which there's probably cheaper ways to get it, but I wanted to, I'm pretty new to this, so I bought my filament directly from Bamboo. So we'll take the last one of these and we'll push it in. So you can see I've kind of got the 4 nubbins there. And then I'll take the top and I'll just kind of line the holes up and push, and hopefully that'll work. Just kind of pushing. Just like that. And the way it will work for ones that aren't on the end is 2 of these holes will be empty, and it shares 1 leg between 2 platforms like that. Yeah, so that's me kind of assembling these, and we'll see it all together on the shelf. I got all the way to the end here and realized I'm missing 1 leg. So I'll need to go print 1 more leg, although honestly I'll probably print 3 at a time just like I did last time, so that I can get started on another shelf worth of risers. Pretty much exactly what I wanted. You can see the name of the volume and the volume number across the top for everything in the back. You've got another row of manga in the front. They're entirely on the shelf. They even have a little bit of extra space in front. You can get your finger in above to get the volume behind out. That's perfect.
So is it worth it? I bought a 3D printer. I got a Bamboo X1C, and it was $1,200. So taking that into account, absolutely, it was not. But there are printers that are cheaper. Even Bamboo makes the P1P and P1S, which are like half the cost of the X1C. And if you were going to do a ton of these, like an entire library, then maybe it could be worth it. And for me, as a person who enjoys the hobby, getting into learning how to do 3D printing, I'm sure I'm going to be using my printer for other things in the future. And so it just kind of made more sense to spend the money and time to do it myself rather than pay someone else to do it. So here's some real basic math, just so you can get a sense of exactly how much it costs. The top plates of the shelves, 4 of them, about 338 grams. The feet, there's 5 of those, about 135 grams of filament. The little nails, the fasteners that come together, you could probably get this to be less because they come in rafts of 12, but you need like 16 to do 1 Billy across. So you have to print 2 rafts. But 6 grams for those, which comes out to about 500 grams or half a kilogram of filament, which is convenient because a kilogram is about how much is in a spool. I bought my spools from Bamboo for $18 a kilogram. You could probably get it cheaper from somewhere else, but I really didn't know what I was doing. So it was a good way to start out buying filament from, my manufacturer of my printer, and had profiles set up for it and everything already. But it comes out to basically $9 to do 1 Billy bookshelf, which beats the crap out of 56 that the people on Etsy were asking. So. Hey Bat Family, we're throwing up the bat signal. If you made it this far, we hope you liked the show. If you put a like on the video, it'll help us find more Cape Crusaders. And if you subscribe, you'll never miss a future episode. Drop a comment down below telling us what we got wrong, or you can head on over to batlessons.com and write us an email or send us a voice memo. We'll talk about your feedback on a future episode of the show. That's also where you can find show notes and transcripts for every episode and links to all of our social media. Thanks for listening.